Hi, this is Mrs. Rodriguez with another lesson video. Today we're going to be looking at multiplying mixed numbers. So before we begin, there's some vocab we need to go over. First off, what is a mixed number? Well, a mixed number is a whole number combined with a fraction. So for example, we have 3.5. We have a whole number and a fraction together. Okay, 3.5. Also, don't forget, product in mathematics means the answer to a multiplication problem. So if you get a problem that says find the product of either two fractions or two mixed numbers, whatever they give you, that means you're supposed to multiply them together. And the word of in math means to multiply. So if you get a problem that says what is some fraction of another fraction, or in this case 1/2 of 1/5, that means they want you to multiply the two fractions together. And it doesn't matter if it's a fraction, improper fraction, mixed numbers, the word of means to multiply. Okay, let's continue. So we're going to be using two methods. The first method is using rectangles to solve the problems, and the second method is changing the mixed numbers into improper fractions so that we can just multiply and treat them like regular fractions. So if we want to look at improper fractions, changing the mixed numbers to improper fractions, the first thing we need to do is remember how to change a mixed number into an improper fraction. So here we go. We have two examples, 2.5 and 3.5. So the way it works is you multiply the denominator times the whole number, and then when you have that answer, you then add the numerator. Okay, it's like going counterclockwise in a circle. Your denominator will stay the same. So 5 will stay on the bottom. So now it's just a question of multiplying the 5 and the 2 and adding the 1 to find the numerator of the top number. So 2 times 5 equals 10. 10 plus 1 equals 11, and we get 11 over 5. Okay, and there's our improper fraction. For example 2, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to multiply the numerator times the whole number, and then we're going to add, the denominator times the whole number, and then we're going to add the numerator. Remember, in our answer, the denominator stays the same. Okay, so 3 times 2 equals 6. 6 plus 1 equals 7, and our numerator is 7 over 2. Okay, so that's how you change a mixed number into an improper fraction. All right, so let's get started multiplying mixed numbers. So we're going to take that 2 1/5 and we're going to multiply it with the 3.5, and we're going to start with rectangles. So as you can see, I have a rectangle. It's been split into 4 different parts. Each box, okay, will have part of the problem in it, and then we're going to add it all up at the end and get our answer. So how does this work? Well, first we have 2 and 3. Notice we have a row and a column. 2's at the top of the column, 3 is on the side of the row. You're going to take whichever number's at the top of your column and on the side of your row for that box and multiply them together. So in this case, this is going to be 3 times 2, and that equals 6. For our next box, we now have 1/5 at the top of our column and 3 on the side of our row. So that means this is going to be 3 times 1/5. And to change a whole number into a fraction so we can multiply, we stick a 1 under it. Okay, now we just multiply it like usual. If you've forgotten how to multiply regular fractions, please go reference that video. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 5 is 5, and we get 3/5. For our next square, the bottom left-hand side, 2's at the top of our column, and now we have 1/2 as the number on the side of our row. So this is going to be 2 times 1/2. Once again, we can change that 2 into a fraction by sticking a 1 under it, and then we just multiply across. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 over 2 equals 1. Okay, and then last but not least, we have 1/5 on the top of our last box's column, and we have 1/2 to the side. So this is going to be 1/5 times 1/2. and we're just going to multiply across again, 1 over 10. Now that we've multiplied the different parts and we have our answers, all we have to do is add them all up. So this is going to equal, let me change colors, this is going to equal 6 plus 3/5 plus 1 plus 1/10. Now, I can do the 1 and the 6 very easily. So 6 plus 1 is 7, and we have 7 plus 3/5 plus 1/10. Now, remember, in order to add fractions, we have to have a common denominator. And I can see that the 5 can become a 10 by multiplying by a giant 1 of 2. Okay, so it's going to change to 7 plus 6 over 10 plus 1 over 10, and we're going to end up with 7 and 7/10 as our answer. Okay? Because 7's a whole number, 6 plus 1 is 7, and the denominator is 10. So that's using the rectangle method. You split the whole numbers apart from the fractions, and you're then going to multiply each one together individually in your rectangle, and then you take your answers and you add them all together. Okay? And remember, here's your answers that we added together to get 7 and 7/10. All right, now let's take a look at it if we were to just change the mixed numbers into improper fractions and do it that way. So we already went over this once, but to go over it again, you multiply the denominator times the whole number and you add the numerator. Okay, and we end up with 2 on the bottom. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. There's our new improper fraction. We're going to do the same to the bottom mixed number. We know our denominator is going to be 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 1 is 11. Now that we have our two improper fractions, we can go ahead and treat them like the fractions they are and multiply them together. First, I'm going to check to see if I can do any cross simplification, but 7 and 5, there's nothing that can simplify those two, and 2 and 11, there's nothing that can simplify those. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to multiply across because there's nothing to simplify. 7 times 11 is 77, and 2 times 5 is 10. Now, you might go 77 over 10 is not the same thing as 7 and 7/10, but that's because we still need to simplify this. So this is still an improper fraction, so we need to simplify it by turning it back into a mixed number. So I look at this and I go, okay, that fraction bar also means to divide, and that top number is not supposed to be bigger than the bottom number. So I'm going to see how many times does 10 go into 77. 10 goes into 7 times, and that's 70. We subtract and we get 7 as a remainder. So this is going to equal 7 and 7 over 10 because we got 7 as a remainder, so you stick it over the denominator. And there you go, matching numbers. Now, I could have kept going with my division. I could have added a decimal to my problem so that I could add a 0 and drop it down, and I would have gotten 10 goes into 70 another 7 times, and my answer would be 7.7. So that would just be the decimal form of this answer, 7.7, which is also correct too. I mean, 7.7 equals 7 and 7/10. Just be careful unless the question's asking specifically for the answer to be a fraction or not, or a mixed number, okay? But other than that, 7.7 is correct as well. All right, moving on to our next example. We have 4 2/3 of 6 4/5. So, once again, we're going to break up the fractions, and we have our 4 2/3 to the side and our 6 4/5 at the top. And now we're going to multiply by the row and the column. So for my first box, the column is 6, the row is 4. So it's going to be 6 times 4, which equals 24. For the box next to it, my column is 4/5 and my row is still 4. So this is going to be 4 times 4/5. And remember, we just stick a 1 under a whole number to make it into a fraction. Now we can multiply across and we get 16/5. Okay, now 16/5, we can leave that for now, but since it is an improper fraction, we're going to have to simplify later. Maybe we should simplify now. 5 goes into 16 3 times, which is 15, and you get 3 1/5 left over. Okay, now for my bottom row, the column is 6 and the row is 2/3. So here we go, 6 times 2/3. We stick a 1 under the 6 and it's going to end up being 12/3, which we can simplify to 4. And then last but not least, for our last box, the column is 4/5 and the row is 2/3. So this is going to be 2/3 times 4/5. Now I'm going to check really quick to see if I can cross simplify, and I can't, so we're just going to go ahead and multiply across and we get 8/15. Okay? Now we're ready to add up all the numbers. So we have the answer of 24, 3 1/5, 4, and 8/15. Okay, so 24 plus 3 1/5 plus 4 plus 8/15. Now, once again, add up the whole numbers first because it makes it so much easier. So I have 24 and 4, that equals 28 plus 3 1/5 plus 8/15. We have a whole number still on this 3, so we can still add the whole numbers together. 28 plus 3 is 31, okay? And it would be plus 1/5 plus 8/15. And I did that so we can just have the fractions by themselves and I'm not trying to have to convert the mixed number into an improper fraction. All right, so from here, now I can multiply my two fractions. 5 and 15, 15 is going to be my common denominator, so that means I'm going to multiply by a giant 1 of 3. And I'm going to end up with 3/15 plus 8/15, which equals 11/15. So if we take that 31, let me go ahead and move this up a little. Oops. Let's try that again. Okay, just raised it up a little bit to give me more room. We would now have the 31 and the 11/15 to add together. So it'd be 31 11/15. Okay, so our answer is 31 11/15. All right, now, moving on. But we could also take this 4 2/3 and the 6 4/5 and just change them into improper fractions. So 3 times 4 plus 2. Remember, we're going counterclockwise. That's going to give us a denominator with 3 because the 3 stays the same. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14. Okay, denominator on this one's going to be 5. We multiply and then add. 5 times 6 is 30 plus 4 is 34. So this is going to end up being 14/3 times 34/5. And there's nothing to simplify, right? There's not a common number for 14 and 5, and there's not a common number for 34 and 3. So all we can really do here is just multiply across. 14 times 34 is equal to 476. 3 times 5 is 15. Once again, it's an improper fraction, and this fraction bar means to divide. So Then you would have to go, okay, well, how many times does 15 go into 476? And 15 goes into 45 3 times, or 47 3 times, and that equals 45. You get a remainder of 2. You drop the 6. 15 goes into 26 1 time, and that's 15. We get a remainder of 11, and there we go, 31 and 11/15. And that's your answer, and as you can see, it matches the answer above. Either way works. Once again, it's up to you to decide. It's my job to show you the different tools you can use, and it's your job to determine what tool you think will work best for you. All right, so once again, if you have any questions or need additional help, feel free to book an appointment with me for office hours. Hope you have a great day. Bye.